Episode 1, Mysterious Invitation. Leia, a French student, had always loved mysteries. One day, she found a strange letter in her apartment's mailbox. The letter was written in English. Dear Leia, if you love mysteries, come to Café Lumière at 7 p.m. A surprise awaits you. Leia was curious. Who had sent this letter? Why was it written in English? She decided to go. At 6:50 p.m., she grabbed a notebook and a pen and headed to the cafe. When she arrived, the smell of fresh coffee filled the air. The cafe was busy, but among the crowd, no one seemed to be waiting for her. In the corner of the cafe, she saw an empty table. She slowly walked over, sat down, and waited. 7 p.m. came, but no one approached her. At that moment, a man wearing a gray hat walked into the cafe. He walked directly toward Leia and smiled. Are you Leia? Leia looked at him in surprise and stood up slightly. Yes, I am. Who are you? The man took off his hat and said calmly, I've been waiting for you. Then he handed her an envelope and said, The adventure begins here. Leia looked at the envelope in surprise and opened it. Inside, she found an old map of Paris with a specific location marked on it. Without any further explanation, the man quickly exited the cafe. Leia had a strange feeling. She looked at the map and decided to follow the clues. Episode 2, Meet a Stranger. Still in shock, Leia stood up and held the map in her hand. The cafe had become busier, and no one seemed to pay attention to her. She moved toward the door and stepped outside. The map pointed to a specific area in Paris, an old neighborhood filled with historical sites. Leia thought to herself that this letter and map might be clues to a greater mystery. She decided to go to this neighborhood. As she walked, the sky gradually darkened, and the streetlights began to glow brighter. Leia arrived at the location marked on the map. It was an old building with stone walls and tall trees in the courtyard. She stepped into the courtyard. The tall trees and shadows moved around her, and the sound of rustling leaves filled the silent night. Suddenly, she heard footsteps approaching. She turned around and saw the same man wearing the gray hat she had seen earlier. The man walked toward her and said, I knew you would come. The key to the mystery lies ahead. Episode 3, The Old Library. The man told Leia that she must go to an old library near the Seine River. He explained that there were other clues there that would help solve the mystery. Leia walked toward the Seine River. The night was filled with stars, and the sound of the gentle water could be heard. After a few minutes of walking, she arrived at the old library. The library was housed in a historical building with stone walls covered in moss. Inside the library, the atmosphere was dark, and only a little light came through the small windows. Leia began searching through the books. In the corner of the library, a large shelf of old books caught her attention. She quickly walked toward the shelf and, among the books, found one titled The Secret of Paris. When she picked it up, she noticed there was something written inside its pages. At the beginning of the book, there was a message. The key is hidden where the past meets the future. Part 4, Where the Past Meets the Future. Leia thought that the message referred to a specific location. Inside the book there was a map of Paris showing a particular point near the Seine River. This point marked the location of some of Paris's oldest bridges. Leia decided to go there. As she walked toward the location, she wondered how this message and map might bring her closer to solving the mystery. After a short while, Leia arrived at the designated point. It was where the old Pont Neuf bridge stood. She looked down at the river and saw something shimmering in the water. With determination, Leia descended and pulled a golden object from the water. It was a key, just as the man had said. Episode 5, New Clues. Leia held the golden key in her hand and looked at it carefully. This key seemed to be more than just an ordinary object. Just as she was about to examine it further, the sound of footsteps behind her reached her ears. She quickly turned around and saw the man wearing the familiar gray hat. This was the same man who had been giving her clues from the beginning. The man slowly approached Leia and said, "That key is more important than you think." Without hesitation, Leia asked him, "What does it open?" The man responded with a mysterious, "Look, you'll find out soon enough." After that, the man walked away, leaving Leia standing alone with the golden key in her hand, which now glimmered in the light. It seemed that this was just one of many clues she had to uncover. Leia decided to search for the answers. Part 6. Somewhere Underground. Leia examined the key carefully before, placing it back into her pocket. She returned home and spent the night thinking about the mysteries and the various clues. The next morning, she went back to the old library and reviewed the book, The Secret of Paris, once again. This time, she looked at the details more carefully and noticed a specific symbol next to the map of Paris, pointing to a place underground. There, in a dark and mysterious spot, it was said that an ancient tunnel dot system connected Paris from below the ground. Leia decided to visit this place. She quickly made her way to the location marked on the map. When she arrived, she saw an old stone door with a large lock. The lock appeared to be one that the golden key could open. She took the key from her pocket and carefully inserted it into the lock. The door slowly creaked open. Episode 7, Hidden Corridors. As the door opened, Leia stepped into a dark and damp tunnel. The air smelled of earth and moisture. The underground passage ways twisted with stone walls and low ceilings, connecting strange and intricate pathways. Leia walked carefully, keeping an eye on her surroundings. Each wall she passed seemed to carry traces of the past. At the end of one tunnel, she saw an old wooden door that seemed to lead to an important room. She walked toward the door and carefully opened it. Inside the room was an old chest and a collection of ancient objects. Leia approached the chest and opened it. Episode 8, The Secret of the Box. When Leia opened the chest, she found an old dot book and a small metal box inside. The book was filled with yellowed and faded pages, with writings in different languages. Leia opened the book and read a passage that clearly referred to a hidden treasure. Next to the book was a small metal box. Leia opened the box and found a shimmering blue gemstone inside. The gemstone glowed with an unusual light. Something within Leia told her that this gemstone was another key to the hidden treasure. Episode 9, Treasure by the River. With the gemstone in hand, Leia recalled a dot message in the book. The treasure is hidden by the river. She quickly headed toward the Seine River. When she arrived at the riverbank, she began searching and eventually found another chest buried in the soil near the water. This chest, like the one she had found in the tunnel, was locked with a large old lock. Leia placed the gemstone next to the chest, and it seemed to fit into the lock by itself. With that, the chest opened. Part 10, Final Discovery. Inside the chest, Leia found another old map and a tablet. The map pointed to a distant, still undiscovered place in Paris. The tablet had an inscription, "The treasure lies within your heart." The journey was the real reward. Leia realized that the real treasure had never been a material object. It was the journey, the adventure, and the understanding she had gained from the experience. She realized that the most important thing she had found was not a material treasure, but the wisdom and knowledge she had gained along the way.